Coming up on Arirang News, the death toll climbs to around 44,000 from the devastating earthquakes in Türkiye and Syria. Yet miraculous rescues continue, including teenagers surviving after being trapped for more than 250 hours. South Korea and the US are holding joint military exercises to counter escalating nuclear and missile threats from North Korea. But Pyongyang threatens to take unprecedented action against the exercises. The South Korean government diagnoses that its economy is experiencing a slowdown. This in Finance Ministry's monthly report as prices still remain high and exports are sluggish. Hello, it's 9 p.m. here in South Korea. Thank you for joining us. It's been more than 10 days since the devastating earthquakes in Türkiye and Syria, where the death toll climbs to nearly 44,000. Rescue efforts seem to be shifting to recovery operations, but still, there are reports of miracle rescues. Shin Se-byuk leads our coverage tonight.
The death toll from the quakes that struck southern Türkiye and northwestern Syria last week has now surpassed 43,000. More than 50,000 buildings are also said to have been damaged. The situation could get worse, however, as a massive aftershock with a magnitude of 5.2 hit Hatay, close to the Türkiye-Syria border on Thursday night. The tremor reportedly destroyed some of the buildings already damaged 10 days ago. Efforts to retrieve survivors have been hampered by the cold winter weather, and rescue efforts are now shifting to recovery operations. Still, more miracle stories have been reported. At least 5 more people were pulled out alive from the rubble in Türkiye on Thursday, including a 33-year-old man who was rescued 261 hours after the powerful quake swept the region. Donations and other assistance are pouring in for survivors in Türkiye. But authorities grapple with the logistics challenges of transporting aid into northwestern Syria due to the political situation in the region. Meanwhile, the United Nations on Thursday launched a 3-month flash appeal for $1 billion for Türkiye. The funding will help 5.2 million people and allow aid organizations to swiftly ramp up food efforts to provide security, protection, education, water, and shelter. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
A second contingent of relief personnel from South Korea landed in Adana, Türkiye on Friday. A team departed on a military aircraft Thursday night carrying 21 members, including 10 medical workers. Unlike the first contingent that included emergency rescue personnel, the second contingent was formed according to Seoul's Foreign Ministry upon request from Türkiye to focus on recovery and reconstruction. 2 more planes carrying 55 tons of emergency supplies, including tents and blankets, are scheduled to be sent to the region as well. The National Assembly's Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee passed a resolution today calling for the continued advancement of the alliance between South Korea and the United States. This is in time for the 70th anniversary of the partnership. The resolution calls for the strengthening of what it called the global and comprehensive strategic alliance in security, economics, technology, and more. It also says the Assembly is determined to bolster the alliance through legal and policy support. It's expected the resolution will be put up for a vote at the plenary session next Friday, the 24th. South Korean and U.S. forces are gearing up for their annual combined field training exercise in the weeks to come. This amid escalating nuclear threats from North Korea, but the regime warns unprecedented military action would follow if the drills are conducted. Our Foreign Affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji reports.
To better respond to various potential threats from North Korea, South Korean and U.S. forces have decided to hold combined field training in mid-March. According to Seoul's Defense Ministry, the annual springtime exercise will be carried out in South Korea for 11 days without a break. It also said the drill will be held under realistic scenarios reflecting the North's potential threats, based on lessons drawn from the ongoing war in Ukraine. Announcing the plan at a parliamentary session on Friday, the country's defense chief vowed to improve combat readiness.
We will operate units with a focus on combat missions, create an environment where practical training is considered the most important value, and build mental strength.
Ahead of next month's field training, the Allies will also stage tabletop exercises at the Pentagon next Wednesday, simulating a North Korean nuclear attack. This is meant to give South Korean officials a better understanding of how their U.S. ally would respond to the North's attacks. Last November, defense chiefs from the two countries agreed to resume tabletop exercises to bolster deterrence against North Korea's defiant behavior. In response, North Korea on Friday threatened, quote, unprecedentedly strong responses if Seoul and Washington go ahead with the planned drills. In a statement published by state media, the North's foreign ministry also accused the allies of raising tensions in the region. At its military parade last week, Pyongyang also showcased multiple intercontinental ballistic missiles, including what some analysts said could be a prototype or a mock-up of a new solid-fuel ICBM. It's also believed to have completed preparations for its first nuclear test in years. 배은지, Arirang News.
The adoption of artificial intelligence is expanding in all areas these days, and defense is no exception. Over in the Netherlands, the world's first forum on the accountable adoption of artificial intelligence in the military takes place this week. The conference is co-hosted by Seoul's Foreign Ministry. Our defense correspondent Oh Soo-young brings some of the highlights.
South Korea aims to play a greater role in making artificial intelligence responsible and effective for global security. Seoul's Foreign Minister Park Jin, in his closing remarks at the Hague Summit on responsible AI in the military domain, stressed the importance of effectively governing the deployment and the use of AI in warfare before it is too late. Co-hosted by the Netherlands and South Korea, the two-day REAIM summit invited government officials, firms, academics and civic groups to explore both ethical and technical questions that arise from using high-tech solutions in armed conflicts. Minister Park said AI development is especially important for Seoul, as it faces North Korea's escalating nuclear and missile threats. He further highlighted South Korea's role in working with like-minded countries to strengthen a global digital order that promotes freedom, solidarity and human rights.
REAIM is a perfect example of how countries like the Netherlands and the Republic of Korea can try to initiate the dialogue on norms setting on emerging challenges that we face on a global level. So two relatively middle power countries working together, trying for the good of the world to try to discuss these kind of issues together. And that is what we can do as responsible middle powers or global pivotal states, like your president mentions that.
Also, as IT powerhouses, experts say South Korea and the Netherlands can lead the way to ensure technology is developed to make the free world safer and more secure from aggressive forces in future warfare.
The critical contribution of AI is shortening the time between detection and response. This is the most important part. And I think we already have the technology to process information at a vast scale. But what's important too is to ensure security of the communication within the battle network where AI processing takes place. And that's the critical part, I believe. So Korea definitely has I would say, an advantage in this field.
The second REAIM summit will take place in South Korea next year. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Now turning over to the U.S., President Joe Biden spoke about the recent shooting down of an alleged Chinese spy balloon. He says he plans to talk to Chinese President Xi Jinping over the matter, but he won't apologize shooting it down. Han Sung-woo has the details.
U.S. President Joe Biden has said he does not apologize for shooting down earlier this month what Washington has called a high-tech Chinese spy balloon. On Thursday, in his most extensive public remarks on the incident, the president added, however, that he will talk with Chinese leader Xi Jinping on the matter.
We're not looking for a new Cold War, but I make no apologies, and we will compete. and we'll responsibly manage that competition so that it doesn't veer into conflict.
He said that particular balloon was used for surveillance, but that the 3 other aerial objects that the U.S. military shot down in the following days were likely not foreign spy crafts.
They tracked 3 unidentified objects, one in Alaska, Canada, and over Lake Huron in the Midwest. I gave the order to take down these 3 objects due to hazards to civilian commercial air traffic and because we could not rule out the surveillance risk of sensitive facilities.
Biden has come under mounting pressure from both the Democratic and Republican parties to share more national intelligence on what he says was an incursion from China.
And we shot it down, sending a clear message. The violation of our sovereignty is unacceptable. We'll act to protect our country, and we did.
It has caused a diplomatic rift with Beijing, with Secretary of State Antony Blinken recently even canceling a rare visit to China. Beijing has accused Washington of overreacting, claiming that the balloon was a weather balloon that flew astray, and that American balloons had flown over Chinese territory, which the Biden administration denies. Han Sung-woo, Arirang News.
South Korea's finance ministry diagnoses that the country's economy is facing a slowdown. Prices remaining high and sluggish exports are the main factors they cite. Our finance correspondent Kim Hyun-sung has more.
Prices rose while exports fell. 2023 kicked off with some pretty grim economic figures, according to the latest economic trends report released on Friday by South Korea's finance ministry. Last month saw inflation above 5% on year for the 9th month in a row. January's inflation is partly seasonal. Rises in energy prices and electricity bills drove up the heating costs during the cold winter. Groceries also came with a heftier price tag, with heavy snow and the steep drop in temperatures affecting agricultural yields. The central bank governor earlier this year forecast that South Korea could continue to see around 5% inflation until February, but price rises will start to stabilize in the coming months and round up to 3.6% for the year overall. Meanwhile, the country saw a trade deficit of more than $10 billion, with January's exports plummeting almost 17% on year. The finance minister explained earlier on Thursday that the trade deficit was mainly due to higher energy prices driving up the energy import costs and slowing demand for semiconductors hitting the country's exports. For the 9th month in a row, the finance ministry has warned that the South Korean economy may be heading towards sluggish growth. With China's reopening not yet having the expected impact, the continued war in Ukraine and monetary tightening policies seen worldwide, uncertainties continue to brew for the global and South Korean economy. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News.
Electric cars are becoming more and more popular these days. But what about charging infrastructure? At 2023 EV Charger Korea, companies show off their most up-to-date technologies to make electric charging easier than ever. Our economic correspondent Shin Ha-young was there and files this report.
South Korea has been looking to develop its electric vehicle charging infrastructure. As part of the efforts, the country's energy ministry has increased the number of EV chargers required at apartment complexes and large supermarkets. Global consulting firm Roland Berger forecasts that the world's EV charging market is set to increase from $55 billion this year to $325 billion in 2030. Amid the bright outlook at 2023 EV Charger Korea, companies showcase their latest technologies from portable EV chargers to charging stations that can be used in areas off the electricity grid.
This AI-based sensor can detect fire and immediately stop the EV charging process if it detects any danger.
The same company, CoolCharge, has also introduced a system where an AI camera can recognize a car license plate and automatically connect to a payment app. Meanwhile, Tesla showed off its superchargers, which can detect different Tesla models and optimize its charging system for that vehicle. Another EV charger manufacturer, CleanElex, displayed its smart charging system, which reduces unnecessary loss of power through distribution.
With this system, the electricity needed to power 10 charging stations can power 40 charging stations. It's economical and helps promote the widespread adoption of electric cars.
As this technology would allow more car parking spots to have EV chargers, he also hopes the government will change the regulations so that parking lots with a large number of chargers don't have to reserve certain spots for EV cars only. Meanwhile, one expert said regulations in South Korea need to keep pace with the latest technological developments.
Strategies like deploying charging infrastructure have been updated based on the situation of EV distribution in South Korea. However, they still follow outdated standards, so an update is necessary.
He added that at this moment, instead of just expanding the quantity of charging stations, it is also important to focus on the quality of charging infrastructure. 신하영, Arirang News.
Following an unpacked event earlier this month, Samsung Electronics' Galaxy S23 smartphone series is on sale in many countries around the globe starting today. Our business correspondent Lee Dae-yeon went out to check out their new features like its camera and performance.
Samsung's flagship mobile phone, the Galaxy S23, is out now. The three variations, the S23 Ultra, S23 Plus, and the regular S23 are now available in 55 countries around the world. And within a few days, it'll be available in 130 countries. But already it has set a new record for pre-orders in South Korea. The company said this week that 1.09 million units of the Galaxy S23 series have already been pre-ordered. The Galaxy S23 Ultra has been the most popular model in the series with around 650,000 pre-orders, accounting for 60% of the total. One of its most impressive features is the 200-megapixel camera. It has almost double the megapixels of last year's model for more detailed and clearer nighttime photography.
I zoomed in on the letter written far away and could clearly see it through the high-resolution camera. I find the design stylish too.
One official from Samsung says the series is also equipped with a powerful processor, which has 40% increased performance compared to its predecessor.
The Galaxy S23 series comes packed with innovative camera features and provides a better mobile gaming experience by adopting the latest processor from Qualcomm. We expect sales to see continuous growth.
One expert forecasts a positive outlook for the latest series.
Although the economic slowdown continues, demand for smartphones is steadily increasing as people depend on them. And with the cutting-edge technology of the S23, more people seem to have good things to say about the product and the company.
Sales for Samsung's mobile and communications business suffered a drop in the fourth quarter of last year, but some analysts say the S23 series may help boost the company's profits, while the sales rise of mid-range phones may also prove essential in boosting Samsung's overall performance. Lee Dae-yeon, Arirang News.
Farms in South Korea are looking at ways to save energy. Some are using special greenhouses, while others are looking at different insulation methods. Our Eun-jin has the details.
This farm is able to carry on with its cherry tomato farming even in sub-zero temperatures. This greenhouse has multi-layered thermal curtains like most other greenhouses, but the ones here are made up of a slightly different material. Typically, these multi-layered thermal curtains are made by layering more than 5 layers of recycled cotton and polyester or synthetic materials like felt. But the main material for this curtain is aerogel. Aerogel is highly porous and comprised mostly of air, but this light and durable material has great insulative properties. Test results show this material is about 15% more energy efficient, while it also repels water, which means it eliminates moisture damage concerns.
The insulation is good, but more importantly, it's useful for controlling moisture and humidity in the winter.
This strawberry farm uses a new method that recycles hot air. It's a technology where the heat from the exhaust gases is captured and the waste heat is used as thermal energy. This helps reduce energy costs by up to a daily average of 16%. While it is advantageous to keep up with and use new energy-saving technologies, maintenance at farming facilities as well as in homes is very important.
Using multi-layered thermal curtain sheets or a layer of cladding and checking for cold air leaks, these are methods that can help reduce energy loss and the burden of heating costs.
The Rural Development Administration plans to further develop energy-saving technology, as well as share related information with farmers to work together to find more efficient solutions. 이은진, Arirang News.
South Korea will increase the number of flights to and from China by the end of this month amid a seemingly stable COVID-19 situation. That's according to Prime Minister Han Duck-soo on Friday, who says the country will increase flights between Korea and China to 80 per week from the current 62. He went on to say that number would gradually increase to 100 per week starting next month. Then the government will soon decide whether it'll also lift the mandatory PCR testing on travelers from China before departure and upon arrival in Korea. The travel and tourist industries are coming back to life again, with countries around the world scrapping or easing their restrictions. The International Civil Aviation Organization forecasts that air passenger demand will recover to pre-pandemic levels on most routes by the first quarter of this year. In light of this, our cultural correspondent Song Yoo-jin introduces a one-of-a-kind tour around South Korea that's open to people staying in the country for a short amount of time, even if that's a few hours.
With countries around the world easing border controls and travel restrictions, airports are once again packed with excited travelers. South Korea's Incheon International Airport is no exception. Before COVID-19, the airport handled around 200,000 passengers every day. The figure dropped to as low as around 2,500 when the pandemic peaked, but now it's back up to 130,000. To cater to the growing demand, Incheon International Airport resumed its signature transit tour after a 3-year pandemic hiatus.
Transit tours allow layover passengers of Incheon International Airport to experience both modern and traditional Korean culture while they are waiting for their next flight.
And I had a chance to enjoy the world's one and only transit tour. Out of the 7 themes, I chose tradition. The tour bus carrying tourists who had booked beforehand departs from the airport and heads to its first stop, Gyeongbokgung Palace, the first and main palace of the Joseon dynasty from 1392 to 1910. An hour is enough to enjoy the epic architecture and rich history.
I think it makes the whole wait a lot more interesting and fun because other than waiting at the airport, there's not much to do. So it's a great way to see the city in a short amount of time. And then you get to catch your flight after.
The next stop is the nearby Insadong Street. Travelers can take a look around local shops, art galleries, grab a bite to eat at traditional style restaurants, and have a cup of coffee.
I've been to Asia, but I've never been to Northern Asia before, so I'm enjoying it. I like it. I like the little streets. I like the signs and the shops and stuff. It's unique and exciting. Yeah.
The last stop of the 5-hour tour, back to the airport to catch the flight. So this is the end of the transit tour. Besides this one, there are a lot of more courses offered, each with their own theme, ranging from shopping to history and even a tour to the DMZ. A vacation in Korea can be one way to enjoy the country, but now even a layover can be another way to experience some of the popular sights and sounds of Korea. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
The forecast calls for a mix of rain and snowfall across the nation this weekend. As for the temperatures, readings will be higher than average for both morning and daytime. But amid the mild spells, do expect finest concentrations to soar for some regions. Seoul and the surrounding regions will see poor air quality tomorrow. Showers have already started tonight for the south of the country. They will spread nationwide by tomorrow morning. For Jeollado, Gyeongsang-Namdo provinces, as well as Jeju Island, 5 to 30 millimeters of rainfall are expected. The rest of inland regions, including the Seoul metropolitan area, will see about 5 millimeters. For parts of Gangwon-do province, where temperatures are especially low, snowfall will be seen. This round of rain or snowfall will last until Sunday morning. Tomorrow's Seoul and Daejeon will be starting off at 2 degrees Celsius. Rainy spells will dominate for the daytime. As for the daily highs, Seoul will get up to 9 degrees, Gwangju 11, and Busan will be warm at 13 degrees. After the rain tapers off, a brief cold snap is in the forecast early next week. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
That brings us to the end of this newscast. Thank you for watching. Hope everyone stays strong, warm, and safe. Take care.